Hi, this is Jason from Funly. In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to go in more detail about configuring the stars in the sky, and we're going to add 3 different star layers. Let's go ahead and find your sky profile in your project, and you'll notice there, under the feature sections, there's star layer 1, 2, and 3. In the sky gradient tutorial, our first or second tutorial, we enabled the star layer just so that we could understand how to use the star start and transition length properties here. This is how the stars, where they begin in the skybox and end. Let's go ahead and go down to star layer 1, and we'll start looking at more of the advanced options here. Right now, we have it set up to use a custom texture. If I deselect this, you'll notice the stars are just circles. This allows you to be able to decrease the size of them. If you just want a bunch of specs for kind of classic, simple looking stars, or if you want more cartoony, bubble looking shapes. For this right here, let's go ahead and bring in, we can play with the density as well. You notice as you pull this up, you can get to a very high density. But you don't want to get too dense because you want to save some room for the other star layers later so it doesn't look too crowded in the sky. This is probably about the max density I would want to go with. I also might want to bring the size of those stars down so they're just little specks. You can play with the twinkle amount. This is how much if the star will fade all the way out to 100% alpha to 0% alpha, or if it'll fade just a little bit. Having no twinkle will just make them be solid. Having full twinkle means the stars will fade between completely disappearing and then completely reappearing. Depends on what the effect is you're going for. You can also change the speed at which the stars twinkle. Let's make it something faster just for the sake of demoing it. You can see the stars are pulsing a lot more quickly now in the scene. I'm going to bring the stars up and make them a little larger, just so that we can see some of the other options. You can play with the softness of the stars. This adds a nice feathering effect. You see how they became much sharper edges when you lower it. So usually you want to have it turned on. This is particularly useful when you're using a custom texture. And then the bloom intensity is only useful if you're using a bloom filter. It will take the final color and multiply it against this number to make the bloom filters really pop and give your stars a glowing color. Currently, we do not have a bloom filter on our camera because Unity doesn't like it when you ship any of the standard assets included in your bundle. But if that's something you want to add, go ahead and use that, and you can use the bloom intensity value as well. Let's go ahead and put some of these values back to something that looks a little bit nicer. Let's bring the size down. I'd bring the density down a little bit too. Let's bring the speed down to be a little more aesthetic. Twinkle amount, probably actually increase that. So now we have something a little bit softer, a little bit more subtle. And let's go ahead and add in more stars. Let's add star layer 2. So star layer 2 gives you a whole nother section of stars that you can configure. So let's go ahead and say, I usually like to start by increasing the size, just so you can see kind of what you're working with. So the density is so low right now, we're not seeing any stars. So let's bring that up. And now bring the size maybe down a little bit. And let's use a custom texture for this one. Inside Funly Sky Studio, we give you a bunch of great default star textures. So Funly Sky Studio, textures, stars, and we've given you some preset images. These are all just additive style. So if we take a look at one of these, they're just black and white. And the black areas end up being transparent when you do the additive blending. So let's go back to our profile. Let's go to star layer 2. And let's go ahead and use star 2 as the texture here. So you'll notice they start to look a lot more softer and natural when you do that because we're not dealing with just simple circles anymore. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger just so we can see things. And you can see it's actually kind of an interesting pattern now. So now that we have an image in there, it's much more interesting to start doing other features that are completely unique to Sky Studio. We can make the stars rotate as well. So now we have animated stars in the sky, which are very low cost and high performing. We can go ahead and change the colors of these stars to anything you want. Darker colors will give you more of a transparent effect because we're doing alpha blending. So you'll typically want to, depending on what you're trying to do, you'll want to go for brighter colors if you really want something to pop, and darker colors if you want it to kind of just fade in. Let's go for kind of like a weird surreal look here. I'm going to bring the size of these down so it's a little bit more reasonable. If you increase your sizes too much, you can notice the stars start to clip into each other. That's something we're looking into trying to fix, but in practice, your stars would typically never be that big anyways, unless you're just trying to debug or test something. So your stars would usually be this low. If you find they're clipping each other, try bringing down the density. So let's go with something like that. And I'm going to bring the density down even a little bit further. And that starts to look more natural, like we're in some sort of surreal planet. We can, same values, we have the twinkle amounts, all that. And we're going to add, you can even add one more star layer, if you'd like. Let's go use another custom texture. Grab the size. Increase the density. I was trying to figure out there for a second why I didn't see anything. The density by default was so low. And just, I usually play with the size value just so you can see which set of stars you're working with here. So we have these blue ones. And I don't know, I think I want to use a different texture. We have cartoony style textures as well that you can use, a classic star. Let's see what this one looks like. Let's try star 10. Oh, that's fun. Let's do that. So let's now bring this down, and these are kind of bright pulses. We can take these, let's make them maybe yellow. Maybe, let's see. You could spend so much time in here just playing with colors and just trying to have fun with this. Let's go ahead and just do pink for now. Then let's take twinkle amount to 100%, or maybe just under it. Then let's add some rotation to this, star rotation speed. Right about there. So now you have an example where you have 3 completely different sets of stars with different sets of densities, custom textures, and colors. And it really shows you the power of the stuff Sky Studio can do that other Sky packages can't. Thank you for tuning in to this tutorial, and we'll see you in the next video.